Section 4.3, the title of this section right here is called Congruent Triangles. We've used that word congruent before, haven't we? And we had a symbol for congruent. Do you remember what the symbol is for congruent? What is it? Yeah, an equal sign with a little squiggle thing over top of it. Okay, that means congruent. Now, up to this point, I've said it didn't really matter if you say congruent or if you say equal. I didn't really have a big issue with that. For instance, if you said that line segment AB was congruent to line segment CD, I didn't mind if you said equals. Now, some geometry teachers would flip out because if you say the line segments, you're supposed to say congruent, but I didn't really care. You could have said that they were equal to each other. All right. We also had angles. If I said angle A is equal to angle B, I could have said equal. I would have been fine with you writing equal. A lot of teachers make you write congruent, though. So with those things, with sides and angles, I didn't really care if you said equals or congruent. But with triangles, I definitely care that you say congruent. All right, so let's make sure that we do that. So for instance, let me just show you a quick example of how you would write congruent triangles. Have I shown you the triangle symbol? Have I done that before? Yeah, it's just a triangle. How about that? Okay, it's not brain surgery. All right, triangle symbol looks like a triangle. So I could call this triangle ABC. And then we'll call another triangle, we'll just call it DEF, make it kind of easy. Now, if I was going to compare them, and we'll talk about this in a second, I'll show you some triangles and stuff, but if I wanted to compare them to each other, if I said that they were congruent to each other, then you put the congruent symbol. You would never say that triangles are equal to each other. Are you listening? Okay, I would never say that those two triangles were equal. I would always say that they're congruent because it doesn't really make sense for triangles. Like right here, line segments, that it's talking about basically the length of the segment. So I could say the lengths are equal. This is talking about the measure of the angle. So I could say that. Now technically, the books say you would only use equal if you did this. Do you remember if I didn't put a line segment over top of it? It means the length of the line segment. So technically, books say you should only use equal when it looks like this. Or how do they, I don't ever do this, but the books do. What if I talked about the measure of angle A, like it was a certain number of degrees? How would I show the measure of angle A? Put the little m in front of it. You remember seeing that in the book? You ever see that? Yeah, we've talked about this before, but the measure of angle A, they save the equal sign for when it says the measure. I mean, to me, it's such a subtle little difference. I don't really care if you put equals or congruence for that. But for triangles, you definitely want to put the congruent symbol. All right? Did I make that clear enough? All right. Now, let's talk about some triangles and talk about some congruent triangles. So I've got a triangle right here. Let's just make it a little bit bigger so we can work with it. And watch what I'm going to do to this triangle. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to put it right here. So those two triangles are exactly the same, aren't they? If you don't believe me, we could take this triangle and put it and sit it right on top of the other one. And it fits perfectly, doesn't it? Okay? So that means that those triangles are congruent to each other. All right, so those are congruent triangles. But what I really want you to understand today is how to describe them, how to label them. So if I wanted to call this triangle ABC, let's be different. Let's go XYZ instead of DEF every single time. Okay, so I'll call this XYZ. Now watch, I copied and pasted. I didn't twist it. I didn't flip it. I didn't really do anything else to it. I copied and pasted it and just shoved it over. All right? So which ones actually match up with each other? So like this angle A. Which one over here do you think matches up with angle A? Yeah, angle X, definitely. Okay? Because remember, I took this and I put it right on top of it. Those two angles match up exactly, don't they? All right? So those match up. What else do you think matches up? B. Right. B and Y. And then what? C and Z. So I put one arc for those, put two arcs for these, and three arcs for those, okay, just to show that they are equal to each other. But that's not the only thing that's true about congruent triangles. What else do you think might be equal about triangles if they're congruent? Jack? Okay, let's not say line AB, because it is a triangle, so it does start and stop, so we would say what? Line segment AB, good. Okay, line segment AB equals what? XY. Everybody see that? What else do you think might be equal? AC and what? XZ, good. And what about BC? That'd equal YZ, wouldn't it? Look what I've done. I've shown 6 different things, haven't I? I've shown 3 angles of one triangle equal to 3 angles of another. I've shown 3 sides of one triangle equal to 3 sides of the other triangle. Everybody see that? All right. If I've shown all that stuff, is there anything else that I could say that's equal to each other on this? No, there's nothing else. That's all I have, isn't it? That's all the parts of my triangle. All I have are 3 angles and 3 sides. So that's enough right there to say these triangles are congruent. Now watch very carefully. If I want to say that these triangles are congruent, I can call this triangle anything I want as long as I use those 3 letters. It doesn't matter what order I put those letters in. So what do you want to call this triangle right here? CAB? All right, we'll be a little different. Most people say ABC, but we'll be a little different and say CAB. That's perfectly fine. Right? I could have said ABC, I could have said BAC, I could have said CAB. I could have said all kinds of different things, couldn't I? All right? But here's the catch. Everybody watching? Here's the catch. I could have called this triangle anything I wanted. But if I say that it's congruent to another triangle, guess what I'm going to have to call this triangle? If I went C, then A, then B, ZXY. Exactly right. You'd have to. ZXY. Now I'll show you why you have to in a second here. It's got to be in order, okay? Now you could call the first triangle whatever you wanted, as long as you use those 3 letters. But the second triangle has to match up with it. You guys watching? The second triangle has to match up with this. All right, so if you look at it, look at the C. The C has 3 arcs, so which one over here has 3 arcs? The Z. So the C and the Z have to match up with each other. Okay? Everybody see that? And it really doesn't matter what order you put it in, as long as the second triangle is in the same order as the first one. Did you hear what I said? Okay? So watch. The C and the Z match up. The A has 1 arc, and the what? The X has 1 arc, so they got to be in the same spot. The B has 2 arcs, and the Y has 2 arcs. They got to be in the same spot. Yes? Okay. So it's very, very important. What's another way you could have written that first triangle? You could have said CAB. What's another way? Let's go ABC. Now, you don't want to say BAC because it's kind of the same. I mean, I guess you could switch around if you wanted to. Yeah, we could do. There's actually 6 different combinations, right, that we could make here. I'm not going to do all 6 of them, but we'll do a few of them. So if I called this ABC, what would I have to call this triangle over here? XYZ, because I went from 1 to 2 to 3, right? So you got to go from 1 to 2 to 3 arcs on the other one. So I'd have to call this XYZ. If you look at them both, look, the A and the X still match up with each other, don't they? They're both in the first spot. The B and the Y still match up with each other. They're still in the same spot. All right? And then the C and the Z match up because they're in the same spot. Let's do one more. What's another combination I could call this? BCA. All right, let's call it BCA. Now, if I call this BCA, look what we did. We went BCA. We went from 2 to 3 to 1. What am I going to have to do this? YZX. That's right. See how everything still matches up? All right? It's very important that you put them in the same order. And why? Why does it matter that you put them in the same order? I didn't think it really mattered what order you put triangles in. But watch this. Let's say you didn't see the picture at all. All right? And in fact, let's get rid of these. Let's just stick with that first one. Let's say you didn't see the picture at all, and this all you saw was this. Just from this information, by the way, we call this thing right here a congruence statement. All right? It's called a congruence statement. Okay, so when you have a triangle congruent to another triangle, that's what they call that. But let's say they give you this congruent statement. Okay, that's all they tell you is this triangle is congruent to this triangle. You can actually tell which angles are equal, and you can also tell which sides are equal to each other, can't you? So let's take a look. What if I wanted to name all the angles that are equal to each other? All right, so I gave you the congruent statement, and I said, okay, name all the congruent angles. Name all the angles that are equal to each other. So what would I start with? Yeah, angle C. So what would angle C be equal to over here on this triangle? And how do you know it's equal to angle Z without even seeing the picture? How do you know, Jack? Because they're the first one in each, exactly. Do you see why it's important to make sure they're in order? Because if I put this in a different order, I wouldn't know by looking at the congruent statement which ones were actually equal to each other. But as long as I'm consistent and I make sure that I put them in the right order, make sure they all match up, then I can tell what angles are equal, I can tell what sides are equal. Let's list all the other angles. So angle what? A would equal what? Angle X. And then what else? Angle B would equal angle Y. Just from seeing the congruent statement, I don't even have to see the picture at all, do I? All I got to do is look at the congruent statement and I know which angles are equal to each other. What else do you think I can say is equal to each other just by knowing the congruent statement? Well, what's a triangle have? It doesn't just have angles, it also has what? It's got sides, segments, right? Line segments, exactly right. So let's see which sides are equal to each other. So name one of the sides on this first triangle right here. Let's start with C. It doesn't matter. You could have said AB. You're not wrong by saying AB, but I just want to start with the first one, okay? So if I said CA over here, what would equal line segment CA on this triangle over here? ZX. Exactly. Do you see that? See, I took this segment and set it equal to that segment right there. See how easy it is once you know the congruent statement? But what if the congruent statement was all mixed up? You wouldn't know what angles were equal. You wouldn't know what line segments were equal to each other. So it's very, very important. I'm going through all this. I've already taught 11 minutes, okay? All this basically just to make sure that you know that you got to keep that stuff in the right order, okay? That's why it's that important. Let's do another one. Let's go AB. What would equal AB over here? XY. Yeah, it's not hard, right? It's just the ones that are in the same spot. And what's my next side? I got CA, I got AB. What's my other side? CB. Good. CB. What would CB be equal to? ZY. Exactly. And if you come back here, I think we can barely fit it on. Okay, you can actually make it a little smaller so it fits. There we go. You see that? So just by looking at this thing right here, look, angle C does equal angle Z, doesn't it? Back in that original picture. And then B and Y are equal and A and X are equal. Look at the segments, CA, CA, and ZX. They are equal to each other, aren't they? All right, you with me on that? All right, good. Let's go to another picture. Okay, I've got two triangles are identical to each other. I drew this one out first, and then I copied and pasted, and I got the same exact one right here. Let's do this. Actually, let me click on this, click that. I'm just going to twist this around a little bit, just to make it look a little bit different. All right, so let's twist it like that, and let's even flip it. Watch this. I can flip it or reflect it like that. See what I did? Yeah, you got to kind of, actually, let's kind of make it look like what they do in the book. How do they do that? Actually, I shouldn't have flipped it. That's all right. It doesn't have to be exactly like it is in the book, but I just want to show you this. Now watch. They're congruent statements. Very important. A lot of people blow this congruent statement off. Okay, they blow it off, which means they say, it's not really that important. But it really is. The congruent statement tells you so much information. So they tell you that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. All right. Now, I realize I flipped it and twisted it, and let's ungroup it. And my letters are all flipped and everything, right? Because I flipped it around. So, but you can tell which one goes with what. So angle A on this triangle is equal to what on this triangle? Angle D. So which one am I going to make D? I'm going to make that one D, aren't I? Because that was the A. You follow me? And then B and E were equal, so we'll call this B, call this E. And then what? C was F, so we'll change that to F. All right, so there's our two triangles, and they are congruent to each other. So let's mark some stuff, okay, without even putting the numbers in. We'll put some numbers in here in a second, but let's just mark what's equal. Angle A from this congruent statement right here. Because it's hard to tell just by looking at the pictures. Because if you just look at the picture, it's kind of hard to tell which is it equal to? Is angle A equal to angle D, or is angle A equal to angle F? Because they kind of look the same, don't they? So you got to go by the congruent statement. What is angle A actually equal to? Angle D. So I'm going to put one arc right there. Everybody follow me? What else? B. So let's put 2 arcs for B. And what's that equal to on this triangle? Angle E. So let's put 2 arcs on this triangle, on that angle. And then, of course, what's left over? C and F would be equal to each other. Everybody with me so far? So that's pretty important stuff. Let's stick in some numbers. So B is 99 degrees. A is 45 degrees. You writing this stuff down? Brad, you writing it down? It's kind of hard when your head's on the desk. This is 32.1. Write it down. Get a pencil in your hand and write it down. I shouldn't have to do all the work, should I? And then what's this? Angle F, this one right here, is 8y minus 5. I'll put a little arrow because I can't fit it in there. That's 8y minus 5. And then EF, which is this one right here, is 2y plus x. All right, there we go. And the question says to solve for x and y. Solve for x and y. So that looks like a big mess, doesn't it? But it's really not that bad because I know what angles are equal to each other. I know what sides are equal to each other. So guess what I'm going to do? Well, I'll just solve for x and y, right? There's a little problem with this solving for x thing right here because this has 2 variables. So I'm actually not going to solve for x first. What do you think I'm going to solve for first? Solve for y first, okay? And this just has a y in it, nothing else, correct? So let's find out what it's equal to. Well, this is the one with 3 arcs. It's angle F. Look over here. Which angle is equal to angle F? Angle C. Do I know what angle C is? It's 36. So that angle is equal to this angle, which is this right here. So what do I do with those 2 things? Set them equal to each other. Exactly right. So I've got 8y minus 5, and I set it equal to what? 36. Everybody see that? It's very important. This congruent statement was huge because I would have no idea which one to set it equal to. Because sometimes you can't just look and tell by the picture because they look pretty close. Right? So you can't just look at it. Sometimes you have to know. You got to know. Not sometimes you have to know. You always have to know exactly what it is. So let's do the math real quick. We add a 5 to both sides. 8y is, what's that, 41? Is that right? Did I do that right? Does this come out like that? Yeah, I guess it does. No. What did I do? Did I do something wrong? Oh, I know what I did wrong. You know what I did? Oh, stupid me. Tell you what. Yeah, I am kind of stupid sometimes. Look at the book. Somebody look at it and tell me what I did wrong. I see what I did wrong. What did I do wrong? Look at the book. Look at the book. Look at, I put DEF. What does the book say? It doesn't say DEF. It says DFE. So nobody's going to look at the book. Come on, you guys. What's so hard? Yeah, open a book and you look at it. My goodness. Not one person opened a book and looked after I asked them to do that. It's like I got to hold your hand through the whole thing. All right? Come on. So that was my mistake. My mistake was I wrote DEF instead of DFE. So that changes things around a little bit, doesn't it? So A and D are equal. I got that right. But now I got to change something. What do I got to change? In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get rid of these little arcs and then just go by. Sorry about that. I didn't really mean to do that. Well, that's okay. Let's get rid of these little arc things. All right, and let's just go by the letters now. So now I know A and D. I still want to find out what's equal to this angle right here, angle F, don't I? So you look at this. Angle F is in the middle. What's in the middle here? Angle B. So I'm not setting it equal to 36. What am I setting it equal to? Oh, you know what? I got to do this too because I got to switch this around. Remember, I changed that. So that should be F, and this should be E. I'll just put a little E right there. Sorry, I really killed this, didn't I? That's all right. You make mistakes, I make mistakes too, right? So that's life. So let's do this again. So, and I got to change this too. Oh, sorry. We'll put that right there. Get rid of that. And we'll put a little 5. There we go. I think we're good now, aren't we? Maybe not. This is... Hold up. Don't lose me. Come on now. I can see you're drifting. Stop. Just bear with me here. Yeah, I think that's still right. FE is 2y plus x. Yep. Angle F is 8y minus 5. Yeah, I think we're good now. All right, let's see what we can do now. So now we want to solve for y, don't we? So that's angle F. So I look over here. It's the same as angle B. So I go 8y minus 5 equals what this time? Not 36, but what? 99. Angle B, which is 99. So those two are equal to each other. So that's what I have to do. So that should be better. So what I do? Add a 5 to both sides, which is what? 104. I think that comes out even. It's 13. Y equals 13. So there's the y. Now what do I have to do? I got to solve for what else? X. Well, what has the x in it? This one right here, doesn't it? So FE is equal to what over here? Do you just look and say, oh, that sure looks like it's that? No, I look here. Look. FE equals what over here? BC. So you set them equal to each other. All right, so let me just set this up. 2y plus x equals FE, which is what? I'm sorry, BC, which is 38.4. Guys, I didn't dismiss you yet. Just hang on for a second, okay? You got like 30 seconds. You can wait. Now, what are you going to do here? You want to solve for x, but what do we do with that y? We put in a 13 for that, and then you do your math and you solve for x. All right, now listen. Your homework, you actually have regular homework tonight, and you're doing it from the book.
No, that's tomorrow that we do the thing.
Are you kidding me?
It says no homework on the sheet.
It says no homework?
Yeah.
All right, you got lucky. You're doing homework in class tomorrow on this stuff.